The Galactic Council chamber was a breathtaking sight, an enormous, circular room carved from a translucent mineral that pulsed softly with a gentle bioluminescence. Alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in towering seats arranged in a semicircle, their forms varying wildly, from insectoid diplomats clicking their mandibles in hushed whispers to towering, crystalline beings who shimmered with the colors of their emotions. At the center of it all, beneath the grand dome, stood Ambassador Kara Novak, representing humanity in the vast council of interstellar civilizations. A hush settled over the chamber as the High Chancellor, an imposing figure of the Elendari species with elongated features and iridescent skin, tapped his staff on the floor, signaling the start of deliberations. Novak, clad in Earth's official diplomatic attire, a sleek navy suit adorned with the insignia of the United Earth Coalition, stepped forward, her jaw tight with barely contained frustration. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," Novak began, her voice steady but resolute, "I come before you today with a matter of dire urgency. The Zorvith Empire is mobilizing for war, and Earth will be their first target." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Zorvith were known for their expansionist tendencies, but so far, they had kept their ambitions contained within their own sectors. A representative from the Tefari Dominion, a lithe avian-like being, leaned forward, her golden feathers shimmering under the soft glow of the chamber. "Ambassador Novak," the Tefari delegate trilled, "the Zorvith have always postured aggressively, but they have never crossed into allied territories. What proof do you bring?" Novak took a deep breath and gestured to the hovering holoscreen beside her. It flickered to life, displaying intercepted Zorvith transmissions, their language decoded and translated into standard galactic. Tactical plans, fleet movements, and chilling messages of conquest filled the chamber. "They've already begun assembling forces in the Orion sector," Novak said, eyes scanning the room. "These transmissions were intercepted by our intelligence units. The Zorvith are preparing for a full-scale invasion, and humanity stands in their path. We must act now before it's too late." A low rumble resonated from a hulking, armored figure at the far end of the chamber. It was Counselor Thraxus of the Kroganth, a war-hardened species known for their brute strength. He crossed his massive arms and scoffed. "Humans and their fear-mongering. Your species has barely taken its first steps into the stars, yet you speak of war as if you are veterans." Novak's expression darkened. "With all due respect, Counselor, humanity has survived countless wars long before we took to the stars. We know the cost of underestimating an enemy. If we do nothing, the Zorvith will burn through Earth and come for the rest of you next." The High Chancellor, his expression unreadable, stroked his long chin thoughtfully. "The Council does not act on mere speculation, Ambassador. Your intelligence, while impressive, does not confirm imminent hostility. We cannot mobilize our collective forces on what might be mere Zorvith posturing." Novak's frustration bubbled over. "You don't understand. Earth stands alone in this fight. We don't have the luxury of waiting to see if this is just posturing. We need support. Now." Counselor Arlon, an elder of the Elendari with a voice like the whisper of wind through leaves, spoke with measured caution. "Perhaps diplomacy is still an option. The Zorvith have honored treaties before. We should not abandon peaceful negotiations so hastily." "Negotiations?" Novak snapped. "You think we haven't tried? Every diplomatic effort has been met with silence or thinly veiled threats. They're preparing for war, while we're still talking." Silence stretched through the chamber, the weight of Novak's words sinking in. Some council members exchanged uneasy glances, while others remained impassive. Finally, the High Chancellor struck his staff once more. "The Council will deliberate on this matter. We shall reconvene when a decision is reached. Until then, Earth must remain vigilant." Novak's shoulders tensed. She knew what that meant: more delays, more bureaucracy, and no immediate action. She turned away from the Council, her face set in stone. As she exited the chamber, one of her aides, Lieutenant Markson, fell into step beside her. "They're not going to help us, are they?" Novak's lips pressed into a thin line. "No." They think we're overreacting. They'll wait until it's too late. Markson sighed. Then it's up to us. What's our next move? Novak's eyes hardened. We prepare Earth for war. With or without their help. Back on Earth, preparations were already underway. The United Earth Coalition's War Council had been meeting in secret, knowing they couldn't rely on the Galactic Council's approval. In the war room beneath the UEC headquarters, a massive holographic map of the solar system flickered, highlighting key defensive points and enemy movement predictions. General Ethan Reed stood at the head of the table, his grizzled face illuminated by the soft glow of the holograms. The Zorvith fleet will likely approach from the Orion sector. Our intelligence suggests they'll strike our colonies first to weaken us before hitting Earth directly. A murmur of concern passed through the room. Earth's colonies on Mars and Europa were critical supply lines. Losing them would cripple humanity's defensive capabilities. We'll reinforce the colonies with orbital defense platforms, Reed continued. But our fleet is limited. We're outnumbered 10-1. We'll need to rely on strategy, guerrilla tactics, and every ounce of ingenuity we have. Admiral Carter, a seasoned veteran with years of experience in deep space combat, leaned forward. We can't win a straight fight. We hit them where it hurts, disrupt their supply lines, sabotage their advance. If we can't beat them in numbers, we'll beat them in brains. Novak entered the room, her presence commanding immediate attention. The Council won't help us. We're on our own. Her voice was firm, but her eyes carried the weight of the decision. Reed nodded grimly. Then we do what humanity does best. We fight. Carter smirked. And we make damn sure they regret underestimating us. The room erupted into a flurry of activity, officers issuing orders, engineers drawing up last-minute defense plans, and analysts reviewing intelligence data. The countdown to war had begun. Outside, across Earth and its colonies, the call to arms spread rapidly. Factories churned out warships, soldiers were deployed to defensive positions, and Earth's brightest minds worked around the clock to develop new technologies to give them an edge in the coming fight. And in the vast void of space, the Zorvith fleet continued its silent march toward humanity's doorstep, unaware that Earth was no longer the easy prey they once believed. The Earth Defense Fleet hovered in high orbit above the planet, a formidable array of warships, orbital platforms, and supply freighters bustling with activity. Engineers and technicians worked tirelessly, retrofitting outdated ships with the latest advancements humanity had managed to reverse engineer from salvaged alien technology. The mood among the crew was tense, yet resolute. They all knew what was coming. On board the USS Valiant, the flagship of Earth's fleet, Admiral Ethan Reed stood on the command deck, his sharp eyes scanning the tactical displays before him. The holomap projected in the air displayed the movement of the approaching Zorvith fleet, a crimson wave slowly encroaching upon the solar system. Beside him, Captain Julia Hayes monitored communications, her fingers moving quickly across the console. Admiral, long-range scans confirm the Zorvith fleet has breached the outer edge of the Kuiper Belt, Hayes reported, her voice steady but strained. ETA to Mars. 72 hours. Reed nodded, his expression hard. So it begins. He turned to his tactical officer. Status of the Martian defense grid? Lieutenant Commander Patel, a seasoned strategist, replied without hesitation. Orbital turrets are operational, and we've positioned our battlecruisers in strategic locations. But, sir, they're severely outnumbered. The best we can do is delay them. Reed exhaled, resting his hands on the edge of the control panel. Then delay them we shall. Every hour they spend in Mars orbit is another hour Earth can prepare. He turned to Captain Hayes. Initiate Operation Iron Shield. Deploy every available squadron to reinforce Mars. Aye, Admiral. Hayes pressed a sequence of buttons, and across the fleet, engines roared to life as fighters and interceptors launched from their hangars, racing toward Mars. Down on the Martian surface, within the fortified bastion of Olympus Mons Command, General Sarah Whitmore watched the incoming fleet on her own tactical display. The reddish dust outside the dome was eerily still, a stark contrast to the chaos that was about to unfold. She tapped her comlink. All ground forces, Report status. Alpha Battalion ready, General, came a voice over the intercom. Orbital strike teams positioned. We're locked and loaded. Whitmore nodded. Hold the line as long as you can. Reinforcements are en route. We fight to protect Earth, but we stand for Mars. The incoming fleet loomed closer, and Mars' defense grid opened fire. High-powered railguns and missile platforms unleashed a deadly barrage into the void, striking the first wave of Zorvith ships. The initial assault forced the alien ships to slow their advance, but they quickly adapted, deploying energy shields and returning fire with devastating plasma cannons. Explosions lit up the Martian sky as the two forces clashed. Back on the USS Valiant, Admiral Reed watched the battle unfold in real time. "They're testing us," he muttered. "They want to see how strong we are before they commit their main force." Hayes glanced at him. "If this is just a test, sir, we're in serious trouble." Reed's jaw tightened. "We'll show them what humans are made of." "Open a direct line to all fleet captains." A chorus of voices crackled through the bridge speakers. "Fleet Command, standing by." Reed's voice was resolute. "We hold the line here. No retreat. No surrender. Give them hell." The human fleet surged forward in a coordinated counterattack. Strike squadrons weaved through the chaos, unleashing precise missile volleys at enemy capital ships while frigates provided covering fire. The battle escalated into a brutal exchange of firepower, but humanity's ingenuity and resilience began to turn the tide. Using hit-and-run tactics, Earth's forces disrupted Zorvith formations, forcing them into defensive positions. Meanwhile, deep in the Zorvith command vessel Krolith, Grand Warlord Khazir watched the battle with narrowed eyes. His advisors shifted nervously around him. "Their defenses are more formidable than anticipated, my lord," one of them said. "Shall we call for reinforcements?" Khazir sneered, his crimson eyes gleaming. "No. We will crush them with what we have. Their spirit is admirable, but ultimately futile. Increase firepower and focus on their capital ships. Cut off the head, and the body will fall." As the Zorvith fleet intensified their assault, the USS Valiant shuddered under the impact of multiple plasma blasts. Warning lights flashed across the bridge, and damage reports flooded in. "Shields at 50%. Hull integrity compromised on decks 5 through 7. Patel shouted. Reed clenched his fists. "Divert all power to forward shields. Keep firing." On the Martian surface, General Whitmore coordinated artillery strikes against descending Zorvith dropships. Explosions rocked the ground as human soldiers engaged alien infantry in brutal close-quarters combat within the colony's corridors. The red dust of Mars was soon stained with blood from both sides. "They just keep coming," a soldier's panicked voice crackled over the comms. Whitmore's expression hardened. "Hold your ground. Reinforcements are almost here." Reed's fleet, battered but unbroken, continued to hold the line. Then, an unexpected transmission came through from one of the distant scout ships. "Admiral, we've detected an anomaly. It's another fleet. Incoming from the Sol Gate." Reed's heart pounded. "More Zorvith reinforcements?" The scout's voice hesitated. "No, sir, it's the Galactic Council fleet. They're here to help." A wave of relief and disbelief swept through the bridge. As the alien allies jumped into the system, their ships opened fire on the Zorvith flank, forcing them into a desperate retreat. Reed allowed himself a small smile. "Looks like they finally got the message." The battlefield above Mars was a graveyard of shattered ships and drifting debris, a silent testament to the ferocity of the conflict that had taken place. The remnants of the Zorvith fleet had retreated into the depths of space, licking their wounds, while Earth's battered forces regrouped. The sense of victory was hollow, for the cost had been high. On the bridge of the USS Valiant, Admiral Ethan Reed stood staring at the tactical display, showing the aftermath of the battle. His expression was grim. "We survived," he muttered under his breath. "But for how long?" Captain Julia Hayes approached, her uniform still smudged with soot from the emergency firefight that had broken out on deck earlier. "Sir, we have casualties across all major ships. Mars' orbital defenses are nearly depleted. If they come back..." Reed nodded solemnly. Then we make sure they don't get that chance. A holographic transmission flickered to life on the bridge, displaying the face of Ambassador Kara Novak. She looked exhausted but determined. Admiral, the Galactic Council has finally agreed to support Earth. Reinforcements are on their way. Reed exhaled sharply, relief and frustration mingling in his voice. About damn time. What made them change their minds? Novak's lips pressed into a thin line. The Zorvith didn't just attack Earth. Reports are coming in from several Council-affiliated worlds. They've overextended themselves, and now the Council realizes their mistake. Reed shook his head. Too little, too late for our dead. But we can still use their help. Novak's face hardened. We need to go on the offensive, Admiral. Earth can't afford to sit back and wait for them to strike again. Reed nodded, turning to his tactical officers. Prepare the fleet. We're taking the fight to them. Hours later, aboard the command deck of the USS Valiant, the human fleet, now reinforced with allied ships from the Council, gathered in formation near the Martian orbit. Reed surveyed the force before him with a newfound sense of hope. Sleek Elendari battlecruisers hovered alongside rugged Terran destroyers, while the insectoid Kari's swarming fighter pods buzzed in tight formation. It's an impressive sight, sir, Captain Hayes said beside him. It is, Reed agreed, his gaze hardening. And it needs to be. We have one chance to strike before they regroup. Novak's voice came through the comms. We've identified a key Zorvith supply depot in the Proxima Centauri system. If we take it out, we cripple their logistics. Reed turned to his officers. Plot a course to Proxima. It's time to show the Zorvith what happens when humanity fights back. The fleet emerged from hyperspace near the Proxima Centauri system, and the sight of the Zorvith outpost confirmed their intelligence. Vast docking stations floated around the gas giant, freighters moving supplies to and from the surface. The human-allied fleet wasted no time. Reed's voice echoed through the comms. All squadrons, engage. No mercy. The battle erupted in a fiery explosion of weapons fire. Human destroyers darted between the massive enemy cruisers, using their agility to avoid direct hits. Allied ships provided cover fire, unleashing devastating energy beams that sliced through the enemy ranks. Inside the Zorvith command station, Grand Warlord Kazir bared his fangs in frustration. How did they find us here? They were supposed to be licking their wounds, not striking back. His officers scrambled to mobilize their remaining forces, but the element of surprise had been lost. Earth's forces pressed forward with relentless precision, cutting off escape routes and dismantling supply lines. Reed watched as his forces overwhelmed the Zorvith defenses. This is for Mars, he muttered under his breath. The station's defenses crumbled under the assault. Novak's voice crackled through the comms. Admiral, we have confirmation. Supply routes are cut. Their entire forward operation is crippled. Reed nodded. Then let's finish it. Target their command center. The USS Valiant fired its main cannons, sending a barrage of missiles into the heart of the station. A massive explosion rippled outward, engulfing the structure in flames. The Zorvith fleet broke ranks, scattering in every direction. They're running, Hayes reported, a smile creeping across her face. Reed allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Let them. We've sent our message. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted across cities as news of the victory spread. Families reunited, soldiers returned home with battle scars, and humanity took its first collective breath of relief in months. Inside the UEC headquarters, Ambassador Novak addressed the Planetary Council. This war isn't over, she said firmly. But today, we showed the galaxy that humanity is not to be underestimated. We are strong. We are united. And we will never stop fighting for our future. As the cheers erupted around her, Novak looked to the stars, knowing that even though victory had come at a cost, humanity had secured its place among the stars, standing stronger than ever before.